Welcome everyone, this is Garrett Green Gaming, and today I want to give you my review of Death Stranding 2 on the beach. So this is my very first review, my very first game review on YouTube, and I am so happy for it to be, for this game, Death Stranding 2, an absolute masterpiece. I will say it right here, right now. This game is a masterpiece. I am so happy to have had this experience. So, I played this game on the base PS5, the original launch version of the PS5. First, I want to say this is one of the most unique games I've ever played, and it's amazing considering this is a huge AAA game, expensive budget, and you just don't see things like that anymore. Absolutely unique. Unique is like one of those indie games that's just trying to make it, but with a huge budget, and it just hit on every cylinder. Absolutely amazing. The graphics were top tier. One of the best looking games that I've ever seen. Absolutely one of the best games I've ever seen. No bugs, no glitches, ran smoothly, great graphics, and that is a must. And Kojima hit on every level on that aspect of it. Also, great story. Amazing story. The plot was amazing, the story was amazing, the voice acting was amazing, the dialogue, everything hit on every cylinder. Yes, it had its Kojima craziness and fourth wall breaking and all that nonsense that Kojima likes to do, but it hit. It hit. And I'm not one of those persons that likes the, fourth wall breaking and the weird jokes and the weird stuff that goes on, because it's a very serious game, like very serious tone, a lot of serious themes going on, but it has that goofiness that Kojima has in his games, and it fit perfectly with Death Stranding 2. But obviously the most important thing in a video game is the gameplay, and in that aspect Death Stranding 2 is also at the highest of levels. The gameplay loop is just absolutely addicting, and everything feels smooth. Whether it's the driving, the movement, the walking, the combat, it all feels great, it all feels smooth, and it's all been improved upon from the first game. And there's just something so cool about seeing other people's structures in your own world. Other players playing their game affect your own game, and that's just amazing, especially when there's a structure that just fits perfectly with something you just built. Like you just built a zip line and you needed that one extra zip line to complete your path, and there's just one sitting in the perfect spot built from another player. There's something about that is just so awesome. And like I said, they built upon from the first game. Like they ironed out a bunch of the flaws and things that people didn't like, some of the difficulty and the terrain and getting from one point to another, and getting the combat, especially the combat. The combat was one of the things in the first game that I really didn't like that much. It just felt a little wonky to me. And in this game they improved upon it a lot. The gunplay especially, it just felt really, really smooth this time and satisfying. The first game I didn't want to fight. In this game I was excited to go into the bases and try to shoot everyone. That part was really awesome, and I'm so glad Kojima improved upon that from the first game. And what is good is the package delivery stuff was still front and center in this game. People made fun of it from the first game, but I kept saying this is the best part of the game, and it's where I had the most fun. The traversal system is unmatched. It's just something about it. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's the pressure of carrying all these packages across the landscape and having to keep your balance. Meanwhile, you got enemies and BTs just around the corner. You got to climb mountains, and the traversal mechanic was smooth, and it just fit perfectly. Everything about it was great, and I'm so glad in the second game they kept it in there and they improved upon it. The thing I like in games the most, everyone's different, but what I like the most in games is freedom. I like the ability to be able to go where I want and do what I want, and that's why I really like open world games. But even open world games don't give you the freedom that I'm always craving a lot of the times. like you can have these big open world landscapes and all that, but sometimes the mechanics are just like don't give you a lot of options and things to do. Sometimes the worlds are real empty. The towns, there's nothing to do. There's nothing to interact with. So to me, that's not the freedom that I'm looking for. In this game, though, the freedom is there. Like, it's crazy because the world is so empty, but it's not at the same time. There's so many different paths you can take. There's so many different ways you can interact with the game. And even though it's really empty, it's dense and full and things to do and situations to get yourself in and out of, and the choices are infinite. You can choose to go to that facility or this facility, deliver that package, don't deliver any packages, drive around and shoot enemies. You can do anything you want. And it's weird because this game is really empty, but something about the emptiness in this game fits it perfectly. It's just that it's that feel of loneliness that I think is purposeful. It wants you to have that loneliness. It wants you to want to get to the next facility to interact and connect with another person, because the world around you is just so lonely and kind of scary and creepy. So it's just something about it. The world is really gives you that freedom that I desire in a game. Now, no game is ever perfect. Even a game I would give a 10 out of 10 is not perfect. There's no perfect games in my opinion, but this game is as close as it gets. It's just that almost that perfect package of a game, but it's not perfect. There are some flaws, at least in my opinion. There are some things that weren't the best or a little wonky, or just a couple very minor things. Now, the first one I want to address is something that Skilla brought up. He thought the game was a lot easier than the first game, and I actually agree in the sense that I did like the difficulty of the first game. I liked how it was rough terrain, and you didn't have weapons at first, and you couldn't really fight the enemies at first. I like that about the first game. A lot of people didn't like that about the first game, but I liked that. And in this game, they pretty much give you a lot of strength right away. You get weapons right away. You get the traversals pretty easy at the beginning. So I can understand if you felt it was a little easier. To me, that didn't necessarily make it worse. I mean, I would have rather had it a little bit more difficulty. It should have had a little bit more rough terrain and, a little bit more enemies, especially BTs. There was very few like BTs in Death Stranding 2 as compared to the first game. So I can agree with that a little bit. I think it could have just ramped up the difficulty just a bit. I'm okay with it being a little bit easier than the first game, but yeah, I can see it. I could see how it was almost a little too easy at first. Now, once you get later in the game, there's a lot of situations it's not easy. It's pretty difficult, and they put you in those situations where you got to kind of plan and figure out how you're gonna complete the mission. So the beginning's a little bit easier, but I wouldn't say it's an easy game throughout the full game. Now, in the first game, I thought the combat was the weakest point. The second game, in Death Stranding 2, I love the combat. I love the shooting combat. Now, the hand-to-hand combat is a little wonky to me still. There's a couple moves you can do, like the running and then jump kick. That shit is awesome. I love that move, but the rest of the hand-to-hand melee combat, I really couldn't get into. I mean, it was a little wonky and slow to me. That could have been purposeful, but I felt like it wasn't the best compared to the rest of the game. And the last minor negative that I would say is some of the rough terrain. You would kind of like go through the rocks and you wouldn't, grab onto the rocks. You would kind of just disappear into them. At certain moments, like the very rough mountains or the cliffs, sometimes it wasn't the smoothest when you're trying to like climb over these crazy cliffs. Now, to be fair, no game is good with rough terrain at all, and Death Stranding 2 is better than most, by far. But still, it's something that is noticeable when you're trying to climb up a steep-ass mountain and you're a foot away from falling all the way down and tumbling down the cliff. It's noticeable when you see yourself kind of, go through a mountain. Like you disappear into a mountain a little bit. It didn't happen that much and it wasn't egregious. It was just something that was somewhat noticeable. But as far as negatives, that's all I got. Like very minor, very kind of throwaway, because the main important parts of the game was absolutely top tier, incredible, S tier, amazing. All the words you can say that are great. It's just unbelievable. An unbelievable experience. Kojima put his heart and soul into this one. And, the best parts of this games were just the simplest moments. It's when you're getting close to that facility, you're driving up to the facility, walking up to the facility, you got over the rough terrain, you just got past the enemies and the BTs, and it's just, a straight shot to your facility, and you see it in the distance, and the music starts playing, you see the title of the song come up, and you just know, and it's just that perfect moment, and it just hits you, you get goosebumps, it's beautiful, it's amazing, the sky, the terrain, the music all come together at once, and you like forget where you're at. You're just in that moment, and that is what I love about video games, is those moments that take you away from all the bullshit. It's just art, beautiful, it's something special. So there's no other score that I can give this game other than a 10 out of 10. And I don't give out 10s that often. I've only given out 3 10s in my life. I don't review games, but when I finish a game, I try to give it a score. And over the last few years, I've played like 50 games. I've given 3 10 out of 10s. And now I've given out 4. Death Stranding 2, On the Beach. Absolute masterpiece. So glad I played it. I recommend all of you to go out and buy and enjoy this game. I'm so happy that I did. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will be back soon with more videos. See you later.